Hey YouTube. Okay, so I have a pretty firm personal policy when it comes to what ends up on this channel. If I haven't personally stress tested something under real conditions, I don't talk about it. And that policy exists because I've been in this space long enough to know that the difference between a platform that looks good and a platform that actually works becomes apparent only after you've run it through enough scenarios to form a real opinion. Crypto mining infrastructure specifically has been my main focus lately because I think the operational maturity that's emerged in that category over the past couple of years is genuinely underestimated by most people who cover it. So what I've got in front of me today is a platform I've been actively working with for just under a month, and then I want to close out with something that I think deserves a more serious treatment than it usually gets. All right, page is loaded, let's start. I'm hitting launch right here, and there we go. This is a primary control interface. Session parameters, live monitoring, everything I work with. Okay, so here I'm picking a coin, and I think it's one of the more genuinely useful aspects of this platform. It runs on multi-chain, and that matters in practice because it means I'm selecting based on what's optimal for my current portfolio position rather than being constrained by what the platform happens to support. Solana locked, and now I'm moving into cluster configuration. So here I set the operational intensity, processing load, resource commitment depth, and overall performance envelope for this run. And this step requires actual thought rather than just accepting a preset. It's that it has a direct bearing on final structure of the session. So there's a genuine cost efficiency consideration involved in how I configure this. All right, I'm good with my parameters, launching it now. And console is live. It shows me all the necessary info: total time, resource utilization, session progress, my unique session identifier, and the log feed here that gives me actual visibility into what the system is doing at the infrastructure level. So, going to let this run for around 4 minutes. Okay guys, session is complete, pop-up is on screen, and it's showing me the exact output. That's what this session produced. Okay, first thing I need is to enter my receiving address for the token. One moment, please. Okay, next I cover the infrastructure. That's the system's charge for the session, derived from the configuration I had running and the total active duration. And this is something I specifically want to flag because I think it's a thoughtful detail in the design. I have complete flexibility. It's purely whatever's most convenient for me for this session. I also can use Wallet Connect option that handles the whole settlement automatically, but I'm stepping through this manually just so every part of the sequence is clearly visible. Okay, I'm submitting it, and now it's processing. That should clear through a few minutes. And while that's moving, let me get into what I think is the most practically valuable part of this video. So because this model appears so accessible from the outside, it's consistently attracted operators who replicate the surface of it without any of the substance underneath. Similar looking projects are assembled enough to pass initial scrutiny, and they position themselves exactly where serious operators are already spending time: YouTube, Google, and Reddit. And what makes this a persistent structural problem rather than something that fades over time is that this industry simply doesn't generate natural pause points. New platforms, new narratives, new opportunities are always moving, and that continuous forward motion creates a kind of pressure where taking the time to be properly careful starts to feel like a cost you can't afford. The people running fake ones understand that pressure, and they design specifically to exploit it. So, a few things that are now just baked into how I look at anything new. I go through the entire product end to end, multiple times. Not a quick scroll, not a 5-minute poke around. I mean a proper methodical walkthrough of every single feature the platform claims to offer. And I do that more than once, because the first run through anything tells you relatively little. It's the second and third time that you start catching the things that didn't register initially. Second thing, and honestly, this is where I form most of my final opinion, is how intuitive the whole experience actually is when I'm moving through it as someone who's genuinely trying to get something done. Not reading the documentation, not following a tutorial, just using it the way a real person would use it. And if at any point I find myself stopping to figure out what I'm supposed to do next, or something doesn't behave the way the interface suggests it should, that friction gets logged, because it usually means corners were cut somewhere in the build. Okay, what I can tell you after just under a month and roughly 28 sessions on this platform, running across varying configurations and session lengths, is that the operational picture is clean. Not clean in the sense that nothing requires attention or thought, clean in the sense that every time I configured a session and ran it, the platform delivered what it said it would deliver. And I've tested enough platforms at this point to know that that kind of consistency doesn't just happen passively. It's a direct reflection of what's actually running underneath the interface. After nearly a month inside this one, I'm confident about what that is.